what an enormous pleasure it is to see real people. In the flesh, as somebody once said. And those of you who survived Zoom last year, especially welcome to Charterhouse. I think it's a very special place, Charterhouse. And I love coming here. I get into terrible trouble from the people who say it's so convenient to come into the centre of London once a year. I think it's nice to come here and remember all the ghosts that there are in this famous school. You all know, of course, that Vaughan Williams was a pupil here between 1887 and 1890. He arrived here a month before his 15th birthday. And then he obviously finished at 18. And some of you will know, but I hope not all of you know, his musical autobiography, in which he wrote about his 3 years here. And I thought I'd start the meeting by reading the paragraph that relates to Charterhouse. One episode in my career at Charterhouse must be told. I won't do the accent or the voice. I'd like to, but I'm not going to risk it. I had the temerity to approach Dr. Haig Brown, the headmaster, and headmasters were headmasters in those days, not the hail fellow, well-met young fellow-me lads of modern times, to obtain the loan of the school hall to give a concert of compositions by myself and a school friend, H. Vivian Hamilton, who afterwards became well known as a pianist. My chief contribution to the programme was a pianoforte trio in one movement. All I remember about it is that the principal theme is distinctly reminiscent of César Franck, a composer of whom I was not even aware in those days, and whom I have since learned to dislike cordially. I must have got the theme from one of the French or Belgian imitators of Franck, whose salon music was popular in those days. I remember that after the concert, James Noon, the mathematical master, came up to me and said in that sepulchral voice which Carthusians of my day knew so well, "Very good, Williams, you must go on." I treasured this as one of the few words of encouragement I ever received in my life. And there is Rafe encapsulated in that single paragraph. All I can say is that the search for that piano trio goes on. I have a suspicion it might be hard to find, but if it is, we will seek permission to record it on Albion, just as a little extra something. We'll see. The other person whose name I want to associate with this meeting is Robin Wells. You will notice the initials, Rafe Williams. Vaughan didn't really come into it in those days, and Robin Wells, R.W. Robin was the director of music here from 1987 until well on into this century. He was a trustee of the Society from 1995 until he died in 2016. And those of us who have served on the Trustees Committee for so many years, and I'm looking particularly at the Vice Chairman, who, like I, has done a quarter of a century. We remember Robin, and I'm sure that some of you also will remember Robin, and I thought it would be nice just to mention him as we here are back in Charterhouse again. So welcome to all of you. Thank you for coming today. I particularly want to welcome two groups of people, one of whom is represented only by one person, but the other by two. First of all, our in-house composers, and in particular I want to welcome Penny Thwaites in that capacity, and later on Ian Asserson when he arrives, who will be conducting the Vaughan Williams Singers, and William Blows, who I can't see at the moment. He's hidden, there we are. William got a mention in the journal, which all of you will have read cover to cover in the last few days, and I'll see those of you who haven't afterwards. And I'm looking forward to writing about Penny and Ian in the follow-up article in the next journal, and hoping that others will come forward and say, we compose, we too would like to be discovered, we too would like the BBC Symphony Orchestra to record one or two of our pieces. We'll do our best to help. The other group that I want to welcome is our two new vice presidents. Sadly, as you will all know, we lost Joyce Kennedy not so very long ago. And the trustees met last month and decided that they would invite two new vice presidents, one of whom is here today, and welcome Hugh Cobb, who is well known, I'm sure, by name, if not by face, as the absolute stalwart of the Ralph Vaughan Williams Charitable Trust over many years. John in particular knows him well, because John comes to him from time to time with a begging bowl, and I have to say that Hugh is almost invariably generous to a fault in filling the bowl with the kind of money that enables Albion to go on recording as it does, to our great delight and satisfaction. So welcome, Hugh.
The other there's a lot of advice as well as money, I'd like to say.
I wasn't going to go too deeply into it. It's money that really matters, isn't it? Maybe not. The other vice president that we have just appointed is Roderick Williams. Unfortunately, Roderick couldn't be here. He's flying between Honolulu and Taiwan at the moment, or it may be the other way, or it may be somewhere else, but anyway, he isn't here. And I don't expect we will see him. But Roderick, having helped us with no fewer than 9 recordings from Albion, we felt it was an appropriate thing to invite him to the signal honour of being a vice president of the society, and I hope that you all approve of that. So welcome, Hugh. That is all I want to say by way of welcome. We will now proceed to my report, which is, of course, of a year which has continued to be extremely difficult for everybody in every respect in the world of music. The society has carried on regardless, I think, if I can put it like that. There's been a lot of activity, and I think overall it's been a successful year. We've had very little face-to-face engagement. When the trustees finally met last month at the Royal Hospital in Chelsea, it was interesting to see those who had grown significantly older in 18 months and those who looked remarkably young still. And I'm looking, as always, at Karen in that latter respect, because I'd be in trouble if I didn't. But we made it. We're all still going strong. And as always, I want to say thank you to all of those trustees who have done so much work, mostly behind the scenes this last year, inevitably. A thank you to William Headley, who can't be here, but you all know the journal continues to be published 3 times a year and is, I think we can be so proud of our journal. It compares with several other societies' newsletters and journals entirely in our favour. And William, and also Tad, of course, who has a very major part to play in creating the journal, making it look as marvellous as it does. Tad, you're here, and thank you very much indeed for that, and of course for the work that you do in keeping the website free from Russian and Chinese invaders and up to date with all the latest news. Thank you, Tad. I'll combine Tad's name again with a mention of Karen, who produces the newsletter, and people tell me how helpful it is to receive on email all the news of what is going on and what is going to happen, and people go to concerts as a result of Karen telling them in that newsletter. I just wish we could get more of the totality of the membership onto email. There are still quite a few who aren't, and that makes it, of course, more difficult, but we do our best. Then I come to Albion. I suspect that the chairman of Albion, who will be speaking a little later in the afternoon, will have a word or two to say, but I just wanted to say to John Francis and Will Van, who again has had to apologise for absence, but as you know, plays the piano and advises on musicology in every way, and is a marvellous addition to the committee. They have done a fantastic job. I did a quick count of Albion CD releases this morning. Up to 2015, that's 8 years from the first recording in 2007, there had been 20 CDs. In the 6 years since 2015, there have been 23, and I won't spoil John's thunder, but there's a few more in the pipeline. So you can see that the work rate, the Prime Minister wants us all to work harder, as you know. Well, we are already working harder. And my big thanks go to John and to Will for all that they do for Albion. I can move seamlessly on to Mark because he helps. Where is he gone? I've lost him.
Here.
There he is. Right under my nose. Mark, of course, helps tremendously with the what's the word you described? Fulfillment. Making sure you get the CDs that you order. But Mark, of course, is also our membership officer, and you will hear from him also in just a few minutes' time. You all remember the film Anne of 1,000 Days? Mark of 1,000 members. Probably. We teeter around the 1,000 mark. So the job of all of you this afternoon is to go away from here enthused by the occasion and sign up one new member, and then we can relax for a few weeks. Thank you in advance for doing that. A word of thanks to Gay, who is sitting over there with her other half, I nearly said better half, but I didn't, Roger, and they both are wearing the exciting new plum-coloured T-shirt.
Whatever you want to call it.
Whatever you want to call it, right. Well, Gay, would you just stand up? Oh, and John as well. No, John, just stand up. Would you?
I am standing. Oh, right.
There we go. There we are. It has a certain elegance, do you not think so? A regal feel to it. It accentuates parts of the body. No, we won't go there. Those of you who could be tempted to buy one before they go and wear it in the supermarket on Saturday so that people will say, good Lord, fancy that, you're a member of the Vaughan Williams Society. That would help enormously. Thank you in advance for that. And Gay, thank you for all you're doing on merchandise. Then I come to three people and I don't quite know what to say about them. Graham Munsey, Christopher Batt and Graham Aslett. They all do things like liaison with other organisations. They do development of things in conjunction with other organisations. They make things happen and we are, as always, very grateful to them. Then I come to Jonathan Pearson, who is here, and Ron Grames, who just didn't have the time to fly in from the middle of America. They are responsible for the two discographies that we do. Jonathan, who, as you can see in his spare time, doubles as a film cameraman, is responsible for the total discography. And if any of you have never looked on our website, go and have a look under publications at the discography. You would not believe how many hundreds, if not thousands of CDs there are of Vaughan Williams music. And they're all there. And Jonathan assures me regularly that there are none missing, and I believe him. I believe him. Jonathan, thank you very much indeed. And Ron, should you ever manage to see AGM the movie, thank you, Ron, as well. Roy Bexon, who is sitting nearest to the door in event of a fire. He will be the first one out, making sure that we all come out afterwards. Roy, thank you very much indeed for organising this AGM. Word has it that it hasn't been the easiest of AGMs to organise. I gather that post-pandemic there are forms which have to be filled in triplicate or quadruplicate, I'm not sure. Thank you, Roy, very much indeed for struggling through all the mounds of extra work to make this AGM happen here today. And then I come to John Treadway, and I'm having difficulty in seeing people. John, you're there, of course you are. With whom I have also to combine Karen, because they are the two people who particularly are driving our plans for next year, 2022, the anniversary of Vaughan Williams' birth in 1872. Just a few words, because there's quite a big chunk of the report which deals with next year, which I'm sure you've got in front of you, so I shan't read it all out, but I just want to mention in particular the song cycle that Ian Venables is composing. I'm sure you all know the name Ian Venables. He's regarded as the finest exponent of art song alive today in this country, and he was delighted to accept our invitation to compose a cycle of songs. We now know who the poets are. We suggested to him, and he took the suggestion on board, that he should use poetry from poets who had already some connection with Vaughan Williams. And I'll just give you two, or shall I give you three names to conjure with? Ursula Vaughan Williams, very logical. Walt Whitman, very obvious. And wait for it, George Meredith, who wrote a poem called The Lark Ascending. So it'll be rather interesting, will it not, to hear another take on The Lark Ascending. So we look forward to that enormously. We're hoping that it will have its first performance around about a year from now, perhaps a little less. We don't yet have a certainty of dates. And that, of course, brings me to the point that we have difficulties with dates, because so many organisations, orchestras, individual performers, festivals, are still not quite confident enough to be able to commit absolutely to what they're going to do for us. The response that we had when we initially wrote to all these organisations and individuals was very positive. They all know about VW150, they all want to play their part. But we're still waiting for the bulk of the information as to what is going to be happening. We've now extended this, because after all, what's important is not a particular date, but drawing to the attention of an ever wider proportion of the general public the music of Vaughan Williams, and the fact that it might go into 2023 doesn't actually matter, so long as more people will go to more concerts and hear more of his music at that time. So we roughly speaking, we're going to start around about next April and continue through for a year. In other words, the summer season and then that winter season of symphony concerts and so forth. I can mention our AGM in a year's time. You will have seen in the report that we will be expecting to see our president, Sir Andrew Davis, who only a few of us have seen in the 6 years that he's been president. He's been unable to be with us much because he, as you know, is internationally active in America and Australia and so on. But he has promised to attend. We've also invited, and he has accepted, Sir Thomas Allen, who I think will be known to very many of you. And he and Sir Andrew don't know it yet, but if I get my way, they will be singing and playing together. Not necessarily for very long, but I think you should all book your tickets for next year's AGM, because that really will be, I think, something rather special. I commend your awareness the so-called bookazine. It's not called that in the report, but it is what Karen has talked about, and I won't find it myself probably. What Karen has talked about, which is the work that we're doing with the Mark Allen Group, and this will be a publication entirely devoted to Vaughan Williams and there we are. There is the proof being waved around by Karen. There we are. So we're nearly there. And we have actually written most of it as well. And that will be out for publication in April, May?
January.
April, yeah, that's right. So look out for that. That will be sold by the Gramophone Magazine's publishers, so it will be part of that process. And I think that's probably all I'm going to say now, other than to say that despite the continuing uncertainty, we will, all of us as trustees, continue to work on your behalf to make sure that Vaughan Williams' music is heard and loved, not only in this country, but around the world. Thank you all. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, can I ask our membership officer, Mark Hammett, to tell us about the 1,000 members. Mark.
Thank you, Simon. Good afternoon, everybody. And it certainly is, to echo Simon's words, a real pleasure to see real people, real members in a room together. Zoom went very well last year, but it's just not the same as this. So, a very warm welcome to you. In fact, it seems since our last in-person AGM 2019, the time has just flown by. And maybe that's just me because I'm getting older, but that's the way it goes. I'm pleased to report that once again, the 12-month period between the last AGM and this one has finished on a high for our society. And I'm delighted to report that member numbers are holding up well. In September, I had the pleasure of welcoming 9 new members, 7 from this country and 2 from the USA. And this month so far, another 3 UK members and another 1 from America as well. The USA, of course, being the second largest country in view of member numbers, the UK being by far away in front. Excuse me. We now have 23 countries in which our members live around the world. We had 24, and I'm very sorry to report that our 1 member in Russia passed away this year, so that was a real loss for us. I mentioned last year we'd begun to see an encouraging upturn in membership, and after Simon's build-up, I wouldn't dare report on anything less than encouragement. So I'd like to give you a 5-year comparative view as to membership numbers over the last 5 years. In 2017, we had 888 in total. 2018, we dropped a few to 881, but we recovered in 2019 to 916. Last year, we got tantalisingly close at 953. And to not let Simon down, I'm going to report to you that as of 6-7 hours ago, we had 1,009. So we've actually broken through that barrier. And long may it continue. It's always encouraging when folk join. Unfortunately, we do get folk having to leave for whatever reason, and the breakdown so far this year, we've had 75 new members in 2021 so far, and only 25 ex-members. Unfortunately, 11 of those, I do break down the outward-going members into either resignations or those who sadly pass away, and of the latter, we've lost 11 this year. Whether to our new enemy or not, I've no idea, but they are no longer with us, whatever. And the most dispiriting thing for me is when I actually have to remove people from my membership list because, quite simply, they haven't paid their subs. And we lost 25 so far this year. And there is still a fairly high proportion of those members who only join for 1 year. I guess they sort of dip their toe in the water and see. A lot of people don't know what it's going to be like. And they only last for the 1 year, and that's how it is. I still operate the, I think, rather generous 4-stage reminder period, whereas a lot of club societies, you get 2 shots and you're out. I give 4 at the moment, so I don't think I can go much further than that. Other than that, and banging on the door in the wee hours, that's the only thing left of me. I don't think that would go very well. But that is the state of membership at the moment, which, as I say, is quite encouraging. I'm just hoping to see that 1,000. In fact, when I said 1,009, we actually have 1,012, but 3 of those are on what I term the final naughty step, so they may or may not be with us in up to 21 days' time. So 1,009 genuine ones. And if anyone should have any questions on any aspect of membership, I'd be delighted to answer those for you. Otherwise, as ever, with my shopkeeper's hat on, as ever around this time, after the festivities have concluded, I would invite those of you, and in fact, a few of you already visited the table so far. We have our new recordings over there, including one that isn't even on official release for a couple of days, our new London Symphony recording, which John will, of course, cover in his speech in a moment. So, thank you for listening. Enjoy the rest of the AGM. I look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Mark. Of course, members are volunteers, and they generally come forward and say we would like to be members, but I think that the work that Mark does get around, and I'm sure that contributes to the fact that our membership is continuing to go up. So thank you, Mark, very much indeed for all that you do for us. We now come to a man who I have described in the past as being a little like a swan, graceful on the surface but paddling like mad underneath the water. And that, I think, adequately describes the Vice Chairman, the Treasurer, the Chairman of Albion Records, and I probably could think of a few more titles, but that will do for now to be going on with. John, please.
Bottle washer will do.
Bottle washer.
Yeah.
John, it's all yours.
I've never been described as graceful before. Isn't that nice? You know, I went to church last week at my new church in Henton in East Kent, where we moved to, and a lay reader said that what I was wearing was well coordinated. So that's 2 firsts in 8 days. That's not bad going, is it really? Right, the accounts. First of all, thank you. I see the independent examiner, Trevor Lane, and his wife Marion have joined us this year, so it's wonderful to see you, and thank you very much for what you do. Thank you. The accounts. You've had the accounts. There are spares here. I'm not going to go through the accounts line by line. I never do. I shall keep it brief. Subscriptions income was up by 8%. It was a sustained increase in subscriptions that enabled us to reach the 1,000 member mark. So that's marvellous. We committed £9,000 to sponsoring the work by Ian Venables that Simon spoke about. We haven't physically paid the money over yet, but that's the cost that we've committed in the accounts. And despite that expenditure in last year's income and expenditure account, we made a general fund surplus of £753. Generally, finances are strong, and we generate surpluses that we can apply to other things. The restricted fund in the second column on page 10 of the accounts is the Albion Fund, and the movements in and out of that fund reflect sponsorship in advance. So don't be disheartened that we seem to have made a massive loss on it. It just means that we had some sponsorship in advance, and well, we spent it. We made some recordings. That's what it's all about. We spent a lot of money on recordings in last year, especially on the folk song series, and the £14,000 still in the fund at the end of the year represents money set aside for future recording projects. And if you think we spent a lot of money on recordings last year, wait till you see this year's accounts. We ended the year with £93,000 in the bank, which was down from £102,000 the year before. It's still going down now, since we are spending a bunch of money this year and next. But nonetheless, we go into this important anniversary year in a strong financial position. Now then, a few words about Albion. I've made notes for myself, not so that I don't leave anything out, but to try to keep it tight so I don't put anything else in. I could happily rabbit about Albion for the next hour, and the chairman has asked me not to. I do want to say a few words of thanks. We are generating a lot of CDs. I am finding it hard work. I'm hoping to slow down a bit next year, but it couldn't be done without a lot of support. Mark, in dealing with fulfilment, is my right-hand man in Albion, but I'm grateful to lots of people. Tad for what he does on the website, which is fantastic. No one knows just how much time the website takes up, but I think you're in there every day, aren't you, Tad? Most days. There's a lot of work in the website, and he groans when I say, Tad, I've got something else for you to do, but you know, he always grins and gets on with it, and he does it brilliantly. I'm grateful to Simon and Martin for their proofreading. It's worth leaving an Oxford comma in the odd booklet note just so that Martin can find it, I think. And lots of support on social media from Karen, and really all the trustees do things now and then for Albion, and many of you have provided financial support for Albion projects, and that's very gratefully received. For the PANS anniversary project, that at the moment that's costing something in excess of £41,000, more than I told Hugh at the time, Hugh, because costs go in one direction only. And we've had a generous gift of £10,000 from the Vaughan Williams Charitable Trust. And we've raised more than £11,000 from members, and there'll be a bit of gift aid on top of that. And that's a tremendous start to a very expensive and fabulous recording project. So, we're releasing 5 CDs in 2021 and another 10 in 2022. A few highlights. We complete the folk song series with volume 4 out next March. It's the most beautiful album is number 4. The songs from Newfoundland, most of the ones that Vaughan Williams chose for his arrangements are the sad ones, and there's some just gorgeous stuff in there. Choral recordings out next year, Pan's Anniversary, the Communion service in G minor, and Oxford Christmas will be for sale from next Friday, but of course if you haven't got it already, it's at the back. We've made 2 piano duet CDs with Lynn Arnold and Charles Matthews. The first of them, I think, has been well received. Walton's First is the centrepiece of it. That was released to an unsuspecting public the day before yesterday, and I'm told that Facebook's been fairly busy with this over the weekend, so Lynn tells me. Karen, have you seen anything on Facebook? Have you not? Go on, no. Do have a look. And the companion disc with the London Symphony will be out in January. The Walton disc has got a suite by Vaughan Williams, a very early suite that Vaughan Williams Charitable Trust, in the person of Hugh, kindly gave me permission to record, and it's rather nice. We're about to make a brass band CD, part of which Martin Brabbins is conducting, but not, I think, the whole of it, including the tuba concerto. We released an archive CD, Vaughan Williams in America, earlier this year. This has been quite successful. So we're planning to follow it up in 2022 with a similar one featuring the violinist Frederick Grinker. We've recently recorded David Briggs on the organ at Truro with his transcriptions of Vaughan Williams' Fifth, the Lark Ascending, and 5 variants on Dives and Lazarus. The Lark Ascending's quite authentic on violin and organ. We've got Rupert Marshall not playing the violin, and it was probably done half a dozen times between the 1920s and 1940s with the knowledge and consent of Ralph Vaughan Williams. I think I've come to the end of my notes. Any questions about the accounts or about Albion? There we are. I'm hoping to get to my 25th year, which I think will be next year, and somebody will ask me a question about the accounts. It's never happened before, but there we are. I think I've got to... Martin, have we got to propose these or something? We've got to propose that the AGM adopt the annual report and accounts. Is anyone going to second that? I'll propose it. Yes, lots of seconders. Anybody against? No. Good. In that case, I think I'm done.
Thank you very much.
John has managed to slip through not only item 4 but item 5, which is excellent progress. Indeed, we are winning the battle, but we have a few more things to talk about. Item 6 is the re-election of trustees, and followed by the re-election of or reappointment of the independent examiner. First of all, the trustees. All the trustees are prepared, some with enthusiasm, some with enormous enthusiasm. It varies from person to person, but all are prepared to carry on for another year. I would seek the approval of the meeting that they be encouraged and agreed that they should do so. Thank you all very much indeed. Our independent examiner, as John has already alluded to the fact, is here with us, Trevor Lane. We're delighted to have you here, Trevor, and Marion as well. And you do a job which the Treasurer tells me is second to none, and without you we'd be in right stuck. Or not, as the case may be. Anyway.
Or I might be.
We disagree.
Absolutely. But Trevor, seriously, we thank you very much indeed for all that you do year on year. And please, will you agree to do another year's accounts for us?
Honest to do so.
Thank you very much indeed. All those in favour of that? Yeah. With a clap. Which brings us to any other business. I just want to say a word about the 2022 AGM. We have a date for it, which I seem to remember is the 16th of October. It's a year from now exactly. I think we settled on the 16th. If anybody looks and finds that the Sunday isn't that week isn't the 16th, they can correct me, but I'm pretty sure that that's right. And as I mentioned earlier, and I'll repeat it again, do come, because we hope to have not only Sir Andrew Davis, the President, but also Sir Thomas Allen as two performers, I will say. If I can't persuade Sir Thomas to sing, we will have a discussion, which I will start by saying hello, and they will then take over and talk for half an hour, and I think that will be riveting stuff as well. So we look forward to that. and book your appointment. Roy, can we safely announce the venue for next year now? Or have we not quite got there? No, we haven't quite got there. It will be in London. It'll be in London. But I think there are 2 candidates in the running, both of whom are bidding down the price that they will charge us in the hope that they will be able to get us. At least that's my dream. See how we go. But anyway, make a note of the date, please. Right, the other business that I am aware of is something that John has asked me for permission to deal with, and I'm going to ask him now if he will say a word.
Okay,
Or
well, many of you will remember Simon's lovely wife Laura, who is no longer with us. Simon has been in the wilderness for some little while and has informed us that he is about to commit a further act of matrimony. This is going to take place on the 29th of October. It's to a lovely lady called Anna, who's a member of the society. Anticipating this event, the trustees and the vice presidents, the whole committee that run the society, have chipped in. This has not been anywhere near members' funds, to buy them a wedding present. So, according to Simon, I'm sorry Anna can't be here. She's landing, I think, on Tuesday-ish. Is that correct?
That's right.
So, I'm sorry she can't be here. So, I have to trust you not to drink any of this, at least before she gets here. So, I think there is only one thing to celebrate with. You have to celebrate your wedding with champagne. There's not as much champagne in that as you think there might be. There's a couple of glasses as well, I'm going to say. But anyway, Simon, there is a certain amount of champagne there.
Thank you very much indeed, John.
And this...
There's more?
This looks like more booze, but in fact it isn't.
Ah.
It isn't. I think for the benefit of the trustees who have provided it, I can reveal that it's a pair of Mappin and Webb EPNS salad servers, which took our fancy in an antique shop in Appledore yesterday. If Anna doesn't like them,
yes,
Sharon says you'll have them back. We'll give you the money.
You don't want us to go back to Appledore and say sorry?
Absolutely not.
I'm sure they'll be beautiful.
And I thought this might possibly have half a pig in it, but it's not heavy enough. So it's whatever Fortnum & Mason supply.
Food.
So, well, generally, I think food.
Well, shall we all gather round after the meeting?
So these various things are offered to you with our sincere good wishes for the future. Simon and Anna.
Well, thank you for your applause. Thank you to the trustees and the vice presidents and anybody else who John has managed to speak to in the last, when did we announce it? It was the 11th of September, I think.
Something like that, yes.
Yes. It's been coming on. I'll tell you what happened. Anna has been a member of the society for 6 years, but I didn't know her particularly well until she joined a lot of you on the Zoom meeting of the annual general meeting last year. And after that meeting, she texted me and said what a superb technical job John Francis had done in making it possible for 80 people to be part of the proceedings. Oh, and by the way, I chaired it quite well in addition. So I thought, well, it's not often anybody says well done, so I got texting to her, and we got on extraordinarily well by text. And then I had the temerity to say, why don't we have our own personal one-to-one Zoom meeting next Sunday afternoon? And that's how it all started. And I won't go into all the detail, but it's been developing over that period of time since last year. And the extraordinary thing is that on the 29th of October, I will have been without Laura for 3 years and 3 days. And I have to say that is more than long enough. And I am very, very lucky indeed to have found somebody who, dare I say it, matches Laura in so many different ways. And I think I'm a very lucky chap. I'm even more lucky, obviously, to be given all of this. What's under the box? Oh, it's still there. Very ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much indeed. Let me assure you that Anna will be an addition to the work that we all do, not taking anything away, although she may just occasionally want to see me, I hope. We will do our best between the two of us to serve the society as I have in the past. Thank you all very much indeed. Is there any other business? Thank you again. Is there any other business that anybody would like to raise? It's enough, isn't it?